morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 21 of the African Do podcast. Today, we're very privileged to have Sammy Weya, an old friend. We're going to talk about a lot of things, entrepreneurship, largely around agriculture. We'll dabble a bit into some politics because Sam did spend some time as a politician. And we'll see if we can explore the congruence between entrepreneurship agriculturally and the politics and where we're going as a nation. So, Sam, welcome to the African Do podcast.
Thank you very much, Leonard. I mean, I've known you since you were in Tamarind. You were in Tamarind?
Yes, at Carnival, yeah.
At Carnival.
Those days
when we were
young and bright and bushy-tailed,
and very gifted at the time, you can say.
Thank you very much.
And that's when we met. It's many years ago.
Yes, it is.
The 90s, right?
It was it was 2000.
Oh, okay.
Exactly 2000 is
That's when
I
you joined.
started. That's when I started, my career. 25 years ago.
Nice. Yeah, so it's nice meeting you. And I think you saw me when I was talking about maize and sugar.
Yes.
And the issues of maize and sugar.
And that's where I want us to start.
Yes.
So I think I say because of my work in hospitality and tourism,
right,
we get to see agricultural supply chains more than most, in the sense that most people, they relate with agriculture based on the supply of what they find in the market or not.
Right.
But when you get into a space, when you're buying in bulk, then you begin to see the gaps
and the challenges
that exist in our agriculture.
Yes.
And Kenya is, I think, we've reached a stage where we talk about agriculture because we have a rich history of being an agricultural nation.
Yes.
Yeah, we talk about agriculture very generically.
Yes.
Yeah. Almost from a space where most people would think there's nothing wrong.
Right.
Largely because commercial, if you have the money in your pockets, you can basically buy anything you want.
Yes.
And the cosmopolitan nature of our urban centers are such that we are even importing.
Yes.
In the Kenya we grew up in, importing fruit was totally unheard of.
Absolutely.
But now you walk into your average branded vegetable store in an urban center, Nairobi, Nakuru, Eldoret, and you'll find some imported goods.
Not some, a lot.
A lot, yes. And so let's start there and start with what is it about our agriculture that you feel is not working?
Let's start from the reality.
Yeah.
We're importing a lot of our foods. Number one is wheat. We're importing wheat from Russia. The second one is rice. We're importing from the Asian countries.
Yes.
We're importing 1 million metric tons of rice every year.
1 million metric tons.
We are consuming 1.2 million metric tons. We're producing 200,000 metric tons, mainly in Mwea, which is on 38,000 acres, which is now maxed.
Yes.
The next best place to grow rice is in coastal areas, Taita Taveta. And in the Lake Basin region, where you talk about Ahero, Lower Sio, Lower Nzoia, Kuja. Those are irrigation schemes that are put up by World Bank.
Yes.
And the potential is vast. Currently, we're doing about 17,000 acres in the western part of Kenya. The potential is 280,000 acres of irrigation systems already in place. So the fact that we are spending money on rice is completely lopsidedness from where I sit. I've done the figures. It cost about 72,500 shillings to do an acre, including insurance and the inputs.
Yes.
And your profit is another 70,000. A product you can do within 4 months, from seed to harvesting. What people don't realize, things have changed with times. And governments need to be involved, policies need to be involved. Agriculture in this country today is devolved. It's the responsibility of governors to make sure that they commercialize agro-business in their counties. And they're not doing it. Governors that have done it, I remember Mwangi Waria, when he was governor of Murang'a, he invested in milk cooling plants, he invested in giving seedlings of avocados to farmers. Today, Muranga is the biggest exporter of avocado as we sit because of the investment and the leadership that he gave in Muranga. And that's the kind of leadership we want. We want governors who are coming in, and we need leadership that can help and propel through policies, even at the county level and the central government level. Today, we are big importers of rice of maize, for example, from Uganda and Tanzania. They don't consume it. And we're importing 500,000 metric tons of rice of maize every year. I mean, it's ridiculous. When importing oil, we're spending about 28 billion shillings importing edible oils from Malaysia and the countries that produce it. So we're asking ourselves, what are we not doing right in this country?
So let me ask you, because I'll piggyback on your rice example and just stick there a minute. You said we consuming 1.2 million metric tons and are producing 200,000.
Yes.
So there's a gap there of 1 million metric tons. So that sounds pretty obvious.
Yes.
Yeah, in the sense, and you're not talking about a country that lacks where to produce.
Yes.
You've named 3 or 4 other areas apart from where which is the bedrock of rice. So why isn't it happening?
Because the farmers don't have finances. Finances are not being given to farmers. Today, if you give farmers inputs, and I keep on telling the government, that's what they say, they won't give fertilizer, won't give inputs, go and farm. What will the farmer do? He doesn't even have money for school fees. He will sell those inputs
to get money to live. Yeah.
So you from what we need to do as a country is, number one, aggregate these farmers using technology. It's being done all over the world. Aggregate because they're small farmer holders. And it is not commercial viable to do 1 acre, 2 acres. It's commercially viable if you're putting blocks of 500, 1,000 acres in blocks. Aggregate these lands and come in with a financial model that the guy he becomes a manager. He doesn't become a farmer because he can't. So go in with commercial tractors, go in commercial harvesters, go in with drones, go and commercialize those areas. And I can tell you today, if we did that within a turnaround of 1 year, Kenya will be food secure.
Yes.
Look at our neighbors, Uganda. Look at our neighbors, Tanzania. Tanzania is going aggressively giving young people farms, giving them finance for those farms, helping them through the first stages of their farming lives, training them. That's the only way we can get our young people to learn and to make money. I saw people pointing out this irrigation scheme in Tana River.
Yes.
Galana, Kulalu.
Yeah.
What should a government do in a place like Kulalu? There's water, there's land. Build 100,000 houses. Take universities, take schools, take hospitals, put the infrastructure. Then take a whole society of young people to go and start their lives there in schools, in health centers, in hospitals, so that they can be engaged in, whether they're mechanics, there'll be guys who are doing farming, the guys driving tractors, there'll be guys using drones, and you create a whole economy in that area. That is how you spread out this country. Look at the northern corridor where we're supposed to, all the way from Lamu to the north.
Yes.
Open up that area, open activities in that area, open agroforestry. In South Africa, in the 70s, they passed policies in South Africa that finance institutions, banks, insurance companies, pension funds could invest in agroforestry. We have a lot of land. Give it to people. Go and do commercial forests like colonialists did. They did it in South Sudan. They went and planted teak forests. They went and planted eucalyptus forests. You go, you plant saddlewood forest. You go, you plant all these forests, things that we can commercialize today. South Africa today is a net export of timber. They're exporting timber to China. Slices of timber comes back into Africa and the rest of the world, MDF furniture. So that is how we should be thinking. Create wealth. And creating wealth is having a plan. And having a plan is what we are failing to do in this country.
So let me bring another aspect to this, because it's an aspect that is... You have been a member of parliament, so you understand the workings of government better than most.
Right.
And one of the challenges I personally have with the way the system runs now, particularly as a result of in agricultural policy, there's very little that we have determined for ourselves as Kenyans that we need. There's always some body or another. And whether it's a DFI that's funding our agricultural strategy. Is that part of the problem?
Another part of the problem is that foreigners come here
Yeah.
and they won't deal direct with the government. They don't deal direct with the people.
Yes.
They don't want to deal direct with the entrepreneurs.
Mm.
And that's a big problem because
Mhm.
you're coming and dealing with somebody who is not interested in deploying and assisting. People are more interested in how they can make money out of that product. As somebody you have people already doing certain things.
Yes.
Look for those people and find out what they're doing, their experiences, their challenges. And that is where you start from. You can't start giving somebody who has done nothing. Right? Give farmers who are already farming.
Yes.
People already producing. Work with those people as development partners.
Yeah.
Find their challenges, support them instead of going creating paperworks that don't make head or tail about the whole aspects. People like us have spent time studying, reading, looking, involving experts. I've involved CALRO, Kenya Forest Services, government institutions, which are there to help the public.
Yes.
To assist you in the knowledge that you require.
Yeah.
And they write all sorts of, we've even funded some of these things because they have to be reports written to give the experts.
Okay.
And pay for their time.
Yeah.
And we've gotten a lot of information ourselves out of the norm.
Okay.
So we know what needs to be done. Right?
Okay.
It's fictitious. And I mean, I want to say it's fictitious because people keep on asking, can this grow here? Can this grow there? Can this grow here? Look, for example, in Egypt, desert. They are producing food for us.
Yes.
Dubai, Abu Dhabi, people are planting trees along the roads. If you drive from Abu Dhabi to Dubai, there's forest on both sides of the road in the desert. Where we have, I mean, in Ethiopia or COVID, Ethiopia planted 15 billion trees. That's why you see the water patterns in Kenya changing. The effects of what they did during COVID, planting 15 billion trees. That rainfall has made our lake water tables rise. Lake Victoria's risen, Lake Baringo, and both
because
lakes.
of the Ethiopian water.
Because of the Ethiopia. That we plant, it'll go all the way south. And we are cutting trees. And one of my concerns that we're not supporting commercial forests in this country. That is where we should go. In South Africa today, because they made so much money from forests, they will only, NEMA in South Africa will only allow you to do 10% of your land because you'll not grow anything else. There's nothing you can invest and get returns more than agroforestry.
Okay.
There's nothing. If you do the calculations, it's phenomenal. You go on the internet, how many trees per acre? You see there's 600 trees per acre. In 7 years, the tree is 4,000 shillings, multiply. 24 million shillings. You've waited over 7 years. Your investment will not be more than, for 600 trees at 500, not be more than 300,000 shillings.
So, allow me now to introduce Swilla. It's Swilla Limited.
Swilla Limited.
So, Swilla Limited is your outfit.
It's my outfit.
Yeah. And it's, when I was reading up on it, it's agroforestry.
Agroforestry.
But you also do a lot of agricultural innovation.
Right.
Now, my first question is, you mentioned that you have interacted and continue to interact with a lot of the government bodies in agricultural research.
Yes.
Do you feel that we're utilizing that talent enough? And what has your experience been with CALRO in that regard?
I sit with these scientists and they say they don't understand why county governments are not working with them closely.
Okay.
Because they're in many counties, they can even do partnerships.
Yes.
Because that government institution that has trained professionals.
Yes.
And we have food scientists. We have people there with nutrition, people bringing up extension work services. The science. Agriculture is a science.
Yes.
You start with the soils. You start with the preparation of the soils. How are the soils going to be prepared to be able to allow you to plant? And what needs to be done for that soil to be prepared? Fertilizer. We talk about organic fertilizer, vermiculture, using traditional earthworms to be able to break down waste matter, which is vegetation and animal waste, to break it down to be fertilizer, even including putting eggshells, things like eggshells, putting calcium in the soil. So these are things that, I mean, with technology and experience, if you go to India, they spend a lot of time in places like India using organic farming. World over today, if you go to America and in the UK, it's a premium. To be an organic farmer is a premium because then you know your source of food.
Yep.
You know there's no pesticides, using rabbit urine, for example, to spray your crops to keep the pest away. Even cattle urine is used also as a pesticide. So we look at how do we grow things organically. Today, and I can say traditionally in Africa, as Africans, we were food secure.
Yes.
We had granaries. Every home had a granary because they knew there's going to be a weather can turn around and it can be drought. We are lucky in many parts of Kenya that we have rivers, lakes, and streams flowing 365 days a year. We have temperatures between 23 and 32 degrees January to January. We don't have winters. We don't have autumns. We don't have cold seasons. So we're able to get double the growth. A tree that takes 40 years to grow in Europe takes 7 to 10 years to grow in Africa. And in Kenya, because we're at the equator, we are the best set to sitting because we have 12 hours sunlight, which gives you growth.
Yes.
So you're having growth January to January. So we are lucky. We are sitting in one of the best places in the world on the equator. And we are not consuming as a country, making ourselves self-sufficient in food production,
So let's talk a bit about Swila and your agroforestry journey.
Yes.
I know you plant, but you also experiment a lot.
Yes.
Maybe you can tell us a bit about this commercial. What commercial forestry lessons have you learned on your own about what to grow, not grow, about what can and cannot grow, and so on?
So one thing I'll tell you, one problem that we've had over a period of time is that when we leave land pounded by animals for a long time, it forms a crust.
Yes.
You need to aerate that soil. When it forms a crust, it creates what you call acidic soils.
Yes.
So you need to kill the acid. How do you kill the acid? You get industrial lime and put it on the land. So first of all, you break the soil, put lime to kill the acid, then put organic matter to get the thing running again, which is organic, and plow it and then plant. When you do soil tests to see what deficiencies there are in the soil. I mean, this idea of government buying blanket fertilizer and supplying the whole country is madness.
Okay.
It's complete madness. I mean, the soils in Kikrecho and Kitale is different. So you need to know what needs to be added. So that's why blended fertilizer is key. Only after soil test samples have been done across different, and each shamba, my shamba can be as yours 20 kilometers away or 5. There's different soil formulations. So you can't say this whole constituency or this whole county.
We're giving you fertilizer.
We're giving you fertilizer.
Yeah.
So those are things that we are misleading our people. Number 2, people are moving away from these fertilizers that are synthetic. Because today, if you see areas like in central Kenya where they've been doing, Rift Valley, where they've been doing commercial farming, there's stomach cancer that is manipulating those areas. Things like Roundup have been banned in America. If you see the chemicals that have been banned that we're still consuming in Africa have been banned because they've been proven to make people sick. Our parents, our grandparents lived to 100 and something years. They were food nutrition, food consumption. You are sitting on the side of the road, a guy is doing vegetables. Carbon dioxide from the vehicles, there. It's on a sewer line, HP lorry, there. So you must know your source of food. And I would encourage Kenyans to have your own vegetable gardens. You can even do it at a maisonette level because now we have vegetable that can be stacked, even in an apartment. In Asia, they're doing it everywhere. In small apartments, they're doing it in estates. That you have your own vegetable garden, which will give you your food security from there. In the rural areas, our parents were the grandparents were food secure. They had their own chickens, animals, they produced their own food. So they were not buying food. Food was there. Africans were producing their food. This commercial basis thing that we're saying, fast food, is killing our societies. And the food coming on those fast food, as you know, is dramatic. In Asia, I can tell you, the rice they're selling here is not the best rice. First in, first out. They're giving you 10-year-old rice because they'll not give you their best rice. That's what they're exporting to us in Africa. Sugar. Sugar is poison. People don't consume sugar anymore. Processed sugar. We're bringing it out of Brazil. Africa is one of the biggest consumers of sugar. That's why our people are getting sick. People are not consuming sugar. They know the dangers of processed sugar, what it is. So why would you go into that? And our people just consuming sugar at a dramatic rate. I said maize. Maize is used for biofuels and animal feeds, not for human consumption. Our traditional crops, people lived healthily. Sweet potatoes, cassava,
millet,
vegetables, traditional vegetables. local milk. They were making their own like music and yogurt and cooking oil and from cow fat, and they were cooking in pots, getting nutrition from clay pots, slow cooking of food, process of food. Food was a process not cooked in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And breaking down, meat was not consumed straight from the butcher. You had to break the enzymes. They were drying it and curing it and making it consumable by human beings. But now you go take meat straight from the butcher. Even the Europeans, they cure it for 21 days because it has enzymes that need to break down. And those are things that make human beings sick. So we're consuming things that are not making us well as a society. And these are things that we need to reverse quickly. Some of us are here passionate about these things.
Yeah.
I'm a tree nursery. I got the idea because I've seen how tree nurseries are established. I've built it by nursery, getting seeds from Kefris, the scientists. I'm getting some through them by importing saddlewood, which I know is a huge, 2 kilos, $200. If you go on the internet, you see.
Of sandalwood.
Indian sandalwood. It produces pharmaceuticals, used in the pharmaceutical industry. Is used also in the cosmetic industry for perfumes and stuff. These are things that we need to show Kenya. The king of the Netherlands, not of Malaysia, they used to grow rice in Malaysia. He said, "Why are you guys growing rice? Let's look at a product that we can have high value." Then they started doing palm oil. That's how Malaysia became a superpower. They're producing palm oil. Sugarcane in Brazil, in Malaysia, is grown at the coast, not in tropical forests like Kakamega. Kakamega is the biggest tropical forest, Eastern Central Africa. You go to Singapore, they put a place you pay $10 to go in just to have an effect of a tropical forest. Yet we have a natural tropical forest, which we're not consuming. And around there, Kakamega County should be one of the biggest dairy producers. Grassland, put dairy cattle there to produce milk, cheese, butter to export to Congo. The Congos are buying from Brazil, butter and milk, taking milk, buying from Brazil, and in dollars. We should be able to run this economy even as Africans. Counties intertrading, Kenya intertrading with our neighbors, producing food. We know today we have issues of employment in the country for the youth. Invest in the youth to go into agribusiness. Let them love it and make money in that business. And use technology because now it's mechanized. It's not going with a djembe. In the 21st century, we cannot be digging with djembes and cows pulling the hose. It's madness. We can't even make commercial hand tractors in this country. Tinga to push with a plow. Those are things we should be working with our institutions, universities. We know, for example, in Asia, they are like consuming silk. The Chinese have moved to middle class. They don't want to get into their hands dirty. We should be producing mulberries, producing silk from silkworms and exporting to those countries. Because in Asia, silk is a product that they look as for the elite and for royalty. So those are things there are little things that we should do. Value add. Teaching our people how are we conserving food before the colonialists came. We're drying our vegetables, we're salting our fish, we're drying our meats, we're keeping milk cool and processing our milk ourselves. Just I think we're doing. Now we're doing things lopsidedly.
So Sammy, let me. You're a unique guest in the sense that you have sat in the apex policy-making body in the country as a member of parliament, and you are now an agricultural entrepreneur. Using the resources that are available to you in the country to learn and grow and develop an agricultural venture. What you're saying sounds simple enough and sounds obvious. Then what is it? Where are we missing the boat? Where are we getting it wrong? Where are we failing? Because we are where we are.
I'll tell you something interesting. Even today, you don't have to buy equipment to do value add. Kirdi will incubate you. In Kisumu, in Nairobi, young people want to do value add, go to Kirdi. We should not be buying ketchup or HG sauce or chili sauce from outside Kenya. All these things we be able to produce here locally. supplements. These pharmaceutical companies are making supplements which don't make sense.
Yeah.
How do you get your vitamin C? Baobab powder. How do you get other vitamin C? Moringa. How do you get things that keep you well?
Yeah.
Things like neem, mulberry tea, right? The yellow acacia. The reason why the skin of the giraffe is smooth because it eats the leaves of yellow acacia. And these are things, Indians have these records. Just go on the internet. Guava powder, moringa powder, neem tea, mulberry tea, all these things. Wines, which are made from mulberry wine.
Yes.
All these things are on the internet. Our young people are using the internet to be followers of people.
Yes.
Instead of being creative.
Yes.
And their span is on TikTok, 1 minute.
Yeah.
And you see the amount of time we're consuming on TikTok as Kenyan youth. 75% of internet consumption today is on TikTok.
True.
On the internet.
True.
But it's for following other people instead of creating leaders who are developing things that can build this country of ours. So we lack, and what we need, even as from young age, is to train these young people of ours the importance for agroforestry. I'll give you a simple example. When you go to China today, you go to Germany, along the roads, there's 3 layers of trees.
Yeah.
Both sides, in the middle, both sides. Why? Because carbon dioxide that's coming from the vehicles need to be blocked by these trees consuming carbon to keep the society on the other side with clean, healthy air, right? Riverbanks along the rivers. If you fly into Amsterdam today, the canals are covered with vegetation, because if you don't cover those canals with vegetation and rivers are flowing, they continue eroding. And you need to save the riverbanks. Plant bamboo, plant the necessary trees that need to. Then even bamboo line the river. Plant trees, acacias, plant berries. Birds will eat the waste of those fish. Those rivers will be introduced. Fish will be introduced.
Yeah.
Our seasonal rivers. After every kilometer, we're supposed to, during the dry season, use dynamite to crack the riverbed, so that we can do what you call recharging our water tables. Like in Kitengela here, when the rivers have dried. Every kilometer, if you're able to. But now what do? We have an off-flow all the way to Tana River out of the river, because we don't want to recharge our water tables. And the only way we can, now we're digging water, digging boreholes, and we're not recharging our water table. It's science. Trees bring rain, whether you like it or not.
Now, Sammy, you're foxing me, and I'll tell you why. We've said that the talent is here.
Yes.
Yeah. You deal with the scientists in the Calro and the Kefri and the Kefis and all this whole host of bodies.
Yes.
And my learning has been that there's amazing talent of scientists in there.
Top in this country.
Talent is there.
Yes.
Top global talent.
Yes.
We have we're blessed with the land.
We have it.
Yeah.
Rain.
We have rain, we have water.
Yes.
Yeah. It all sounds very obvious.
Yes.
But we still come back to it's not been done.
Yes.
So where is the failing?
Leadership.
Leadership is finishing us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Leadership. I became a member of parliament at a very young age.
Yes.
If I went to parliament today, I would do nothing but make laws. If I became a senator today,
yes,
I would not be doing these things leaders are doing.
Tell us more of the laws you would make.
I'll make laws that will enable farmers to get the necessary credit that is required in this country. I'll make laws that will compel government to provide the farmers with extension workers.
Yes.
I'll make laws that will make sure that land is consumed instead of left idle. Today, if you go to England or to Europe, you have a piece of land and you're doing nothing with it.
It reverts back to
the state. Or even if it's bushy, I mean, it's madness that Kenya government will spend every year cleaning the bush outside your homes, and the land is yours. In foreign countries, that doesn't happen. I mean, as long as your land is along the reserve, it's your responsibility to keep that piece of land clean.
True.
But today we're doing some madness called bush clearing. Every year, government is bush clearing for people who own land along the neighboring of those properties. It's ridiculous. I'll also make sure that there are policies that will put in the necessary levies that will block imports that are not going to be good for our consumption. We're importing things that are not even sometimes good for our own human consumption for our people. No one is checking it through the necessary regulations. There are no tariffs. There's no guidelines. And even, for example, if we're importing rice and importing tariff, that money should be, as we build capacity for local companies, that money should be brought back to build the rice industry or brought back to build another industry. Today, I tell people, sugarcane farmers, the guy who makes money is the miller. He puts a factory, 10 months, 4,500 metric tons of cane, he's made his profit. The farmer in Brazil, what happens? You're paid for sucrose value of your sugarcane, and you're paid for bagasse value. For every 1,000 acres, they keep a container that will come and differentiate. We're spending money on transporting sugarcane to you. What nonsense. Sugar, a container where it does the first process. Remove the sucrose value, remove the bagasse, you get paid for that. But here they pay you a flat figure.
Flat rate.
Yeah. What are you doing?
So interesting you mentioned that, because that's the other area I found out with milk. You know, in the Dutch, and the Dutch are very advanced on the dairy front, but milk is paid based on butterfat content.
Yes.
You know, microbial content.
Right.
The lower it is, the better the price.
Yes.
The higher the butterfat, the higher the price.
Right.
Because you can do more with the milk.
Yes.
And so that's a similar situation that you're talking about.
That's a similar situation. We need to be how the rest of the world is doing. And there are labs to test these things.
Yes.
We must make sure that the fertilizer that is coming to the ground is not carrying poison. Today, a lot of food we cannot export to Europe. Because by the time they leave, you have to do the tests. You have to make sure there's no pesticides in it.
Yeah.
There's no chemicals in it.
Yeah.
That's how we're consuming, even in the supermarkets today. That's what we should be testing, these things that are coming to Kenya. The KEV should be doing regular random checks on all these products. That's what their jobs is, as a government institution to do. They should be doing regular checks.
Have you encountered a failure of policy? Have you you're now doing commercial farming?
Yes.
You're setting up your tree nursery.
Yeah.
Have you encountered this policy that you talk about, if you were to go back to parliament, that you'd seek to change?
There's so many things that we need to change when it comes to policy. The reason what members' parliament job is to legislate, to oversight,
yes,
and to make laws.
Okay.
Not to go to funerals for as an undertaker. Go with, I don't know what they
as
mean.
An undertaker.
Yeah, every time there's a funeral called,
guys are there
all
in
MP,
mass.
In mass. It's like MP's work is an undertaker.
Yes.
Because when somebody dies, the first person to be called is the member of parliament. Or somebody has died. Yeah, and what next? Now you have to get him a coffin. You have to get him. It's madness.
That's a nice one. MP as an undertaker. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So earlier at the beginning of the podcast, you mentioned something that stuck with me. Yeah, you said that if you implement these changes in agricultural policy, the turnaround could be a year. That sounds short.
It's a 4-month product from planting to harvesting.
Yes,
soya, sunflower, cotton.
Yeah.
Beans, coffee is 2.5 years, 2 years, but in the process, you can put beans in there, you can plant, you can do nitrogen fixing. You know, today Kenya is number 11 in Africa. It used to be number 1.
In what? In production?
Production of coffee.
Yes.
We can't pay our foreign debt if we're not exporting.
Yes.
All these real estates. In fact, I don't know why we are allowed as a government to allow Kiambu.
Yes.
Become a real estate.
The coffee to
which have gone towards Kitengela.
Yes.
Left those coffee plantations because they're earning us foreign exchange and moved real estate in this direction and put the infrastructure in place. We can't, real estate cannot bring US dollars into this country.
Yes.
It's coffee that does. Today, Ethiopia is the number 1 coffee exporter. And they are even struggling. They want us to give them the Lamu port so they can do their volumes to China. China, they opened 2,000 Starbucks. Chinese have become a middle class. So they're consuming, they're trying to behave like Americans.
Yeah.
They think the American lifestyle is the best. and the British lifestyle, running coffee shops, iPads, that kind of lifestyle, which our Kenyan youth are also trying to get into, not realizing that these things are the ones that reduce you.
Yes.
And the Americans and the British are trying to reverse that. They're going organic, they're making sure they're eating the right foods, they're trying to get away from the fast food kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
Because that's what's killing them.
Let's talk a bit
That's
about...
where the diseases are coming from. Heart diseases, pressure diseases, all these things.
Because of the poor quality of what you're taking in. So let's talk a bit about the innovation side of your agricultural journey. Yeah. You I know from your nursery, from the list that you sent me of seedlings that we can buy from you. That you are, there's a lot that you're taking that's indigenous and growing, but there's also a lot of innovation and experimental stuff. How has that journey been, and what triggered it? Or what made you say, oh yeah, I want to try sandalwood?
I tried sandalwood.
Yeah.
It's doing well. I tried olive, but I did the trimming the other day. Now they're producing olives, and you can see them buds coming out.
Yes.
And it was calculated, it comes after 5 years. I'm seeing 4.5. The buds are now coming out for the olives. So I'm expecting Italian and Moroccan olives very soon.
To harvest.
Harvest soon. Guava. I told you guava helps with prostate cancer. If you do the guava leaves, it helps with high blood pressure. Japanese jam. African blackwood is used for making instruments, used for making guitars, for making flutes, for carvings. So those are the kind of things I'm using.
And where do you get the seeds from?
From Kefris, Kenyan forest.
Oh, really?
It's
local?
I get the seeds local, then I produce the seedlings. We have them. Or you can even go to the forest. Send young people to the forest, because seeds are seeds you get from the trees.
Yes.
Pick the seeds. People say you have to buy. Pick the seeds and go and put in nursery and germinate, and it's the same process.
Old school.
Old school. It's a very basic process. In fact, use old milk packets as a packaging. You can't buy the use yogurt. Use containers. Use containers for milk packets. Use containers for cups that are being given out for water. Use all these things, recycled bottles that you can cut the top off and use them as you don't have to go and buy plastic bags. You can recycle these things we're using in kitchens and get seed and produce your own seed nursery, even as small as it is, so we can be able to produce trees. It's revitalizing society. I mean, we came to this world to make it a better world and to multiply things, not to remove. But what have we done as a society? I was involved in KEFCA, Kenya Forest Growers Association, where we had memberships. We did a report with PricewaterhouseCoopers. The poor in Kenya and in East Africa are spending the most expensive way of cooking using charcoal.
Charcoal, yeah.
A kilo of charcoal is 150 bob. You put in the fire, it's gone. I mean, it's ridiculous. World over, it's the rich that use charcoal for barbecue. Go to Germany, go to America. You can't use clean cooking. We should be looking at clean cooking for our citizenships.
Yeah.
Not this expensive thing they're doing buying charcoal. And we are 80% of the cooking today done in East Africa is charcoal.
Yeah.
Which makes it sure that we're in the reverse.
Yeah. So what do we need? We need a Marshall Plan. What do we need in terms of rejuvenating? We need to start having the right conversation. How do we mainstream? How do we take this thing to the masses and make it a thing?
What me and you are doing here is
a start.
Is a start.
Yeah.
Everything is start with baby steps.
Yeah.
You must crawl before you walk, before you start running. You can't just wake up a child and start running.
Yes.
So these are the baby steps we are taking ourselves who think that we are in society. We can volunteer our time to try and tell the public what's important for them, to try and get this word out there. Let's go and do this thing ourselves. There are people sitting on empty land. Add value to it. You wake up 7 years down the line, there's value you've added. The tree you planted, you've spent 200 shillings buying the seedlings, another 200 shillings planting. In 5-7 years time, that tree is worth 6,000-7,000 shillings. It's an investment, right?
Yeah.
Let's get guys planting trees in lands they're sitting idle. Add value to those properties they have. Fence them, plant trees.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I was in the game parks the other day. And I'm asking myself, even in the game parks, elephants are bringing down trees, animals are consuming the vegetation. We're not planting. We should block those game parks like we do with paddocks in animals. take 2,000 acres, 2,000 acres, 3,000 acres, block the animals off there, plant trees, put in vegetation, because in the going future, when these trees are consuming, giraffes and animals are consuming the plants, how are we rejuvenating? Even you look at things that are simple. As I said, in the riverbanks, we're not protecting our riverbanks.
Yes.
I was walking in Arboretum and in Karura Forest, where we have a river. We are pumping raw sewer and putting plastics into Nairobi River. Nairobi River used to have fish.
Yes.
Where are the bylaws?
Yes.
Who's looking after? Who's monitoring?
Yes.
What is our county governments doing? Because that's the responsibility of the county government to make sure, and NEMA and all these organizations that are supposed to make sure Kenyans are living healthily.
Yeah.
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 We are pumping raw sewer into our rivers, into our lakes. In Kisumu, you can see there's a problem with the fish because somebody's pumping raw sewer. Who are these doing these things? Huh? See, they should have things that protect us. And people who are taking small kickbacks are killing their people.
Is there you've now talked about the people who are benefiting the earlier example of rice. Yeah. There's a beneficiary there somewhere.
Importers.
Yeah. There's a beneficiary in the sewer example that we have just discussed.
I can tell you now, there are guys who are importing these things that make a killing.
Yeah.
They're importing, and Kenyans are also doing it. They're importing rice for a few people to benefit. They're importing sugar for a few guys to benefit. They're importing wheat for a few. I mean, the other day farmers were crying. We are producing wheat, and yet someone imports wheat at a cheap price, low quality wheat, to kill us. The local guys. Seriously? Serious board. Their work of serious board is, in fact, with the law that we have now, we have something called warehouse receipting.
Yes.
Where farmers should be able to take their produce straight to these silos that are sitting and get paid money at a premium, so that we don't start this nonsense of importing rice, importing wheat. Huh? We shouldn't be in that game. As a country who love our citizens, we should be pushing our citizens to be able to produce for themselves.
Yeah. Now, you have just reminded me about something that hit the press a few years ago and then died down. Dominion.
Yes.
What was the story there?
Dominion had a good idea.
Yes.
He got to 3,800 acres.
Yeah.
I was the MP in the area. We're the ones who encouraged him to come.
Yes.
We gave him 17,000 acres. I told him you need your public to be involved in this thing.
Yes, not a solo thing.
Not a solo thing. So I told him, what you do, take the remaining 12,000 because you've got enough to keep your mill running. Take 12,000, get 12,000 families. Give them an acre each because this is public land. Train them how to produce on that 1 acre. And you have the mill, you have the value add. They'll bring back to you the produce. Sell, they make some money as locals. And that is how they would have gone even to their farms. And that's how we have been today. Today, if that model worked, and I can tell you why I'm frustrated about that farm, is that farm was SMEC. The Germans came in and the model was there. The government spent 250 million shillings doing a feasibility study on what should be done there. There's fish that we're doing like in Asia, Malaysia. When you plant rice, 2 months, you get 2 months old fingerlings, put them in the rice paddies, so that the rice becomes organic. By the time it's 6 months, the fish is big enough to be sold.
Yes.
So you're getting two produce. You're getting fish, and you're getting the rice, and it's organic.
Okay.
Because where fish is operating, you can't use chemicals. They're eating the insects.
And they're eating the insects.
And the pesticide, the pests, and their droppings are fertilizer.
Yes.
For the rice. So you're killing two birds with one stone. There's a park that's supposed to be there. There's a plan, what you call a Yala Swamp development plan. There's an animal sanctuary inside that place that was supposed to be designed. Sugarcane was supposed to be put in the dry area. When you open the canals into the dry area and the lower part. Now, where there was rice is supposed to be produced, we're planting sugarcane. And in a swamp, which is a wetlands, you can't plant sugarcane in the wetlands. So the person who is there is doing something illegal. And even I told them that you can't plant world over. There's nowhere you plant sugarcane in the wetlands. Rice, you can do it because you're integrating with fish.
Yes.
And you're making sure that place is productive. And that's the direction we should have taken. So after that, Obasanjo came here, went and gave him 100,000 acres in Nigeria. Obasanjo is doing it. Obasanjo kicked him out, but Obasanjo now is running that 100,000 acres. Obasanjo is a big fish farmer. He's a big rice producer, using what he saw here in Kenya, in Nigeria.
Wow. So you also made a comment that if you were to talk to your 34-year-old self, your MP journey would have been very different.
Very different.
So what would Sammy Weya today tell a 34-year-old Sammy Weya who's walking into parliament, in case there are any Gen Zs who are planning campaigns to go in?
When you get in there, do your work.
Yeah.
Legislate, oversight. Those are the key work of a member of parliament, to legislate and to oversight. This idea of going for funerals, this idea of raising all sorts of mannerism of things, it's not a job of a member of parliament. Member of parliament is to legislate, make laws.
Yeah.
That will benefit the people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Long term, even beyond your career.
And so that making laws, would you argue that it takes some understanding? So surround yourself with the people with the knowledge, like you have done with the scientists.
Yes. Parliament has
that infrastructure
in place.
Okay.
Yeah. And when I went to a study I went to do in Finland, the Finns spend 3% of the GDP with the researchers. So that they know what you need to do.
Yes.
So the researchers come up with ideas.
Yes.
Universities, colleges, they spend money, the innovations, they come up with the ideas.
Yeah.
Then they bring the politicians on board, they bring the government on board, they bring the businessmen on board and tell them, we have come up with this model.
Yeah.
We want you guys to be, and from a scientific point of view.
Okay.
You must invest in your universities to be the innovations. That's what they do in the States.
Okay. Okay.
If you go to Finland, a 6-year-old knows what the job of member of parliament is.
Yes.
A member of what the speaker's job is.
Yes.
What the job of government is.
Yeah.
Here we don't know.
Our guys want CDF to be constitutionalized.
Yes. Yeah. 120 million shillings.
And they're not legislating.
A year.
Yeah.
120 million shillings a year is what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, if you legislate properly, you have
greater capacity.
And that is only 2.5% of the budget.
Yes.
Yeah. The budget. That's what we should be giving universities to innovate.
Yes.
We should be making our own aircrafts. We should be making our own tractors. We should be making our own irrigation systems as a country.
Yeah.
We should be manufacturing as a country.
Yeah.
Today, where we're putting the SGR line, the idea was to go and get produce out of the raw materials out of Congo, because all the raw materials are in Congo. The Chinese and the Americans and all these guys are ripping that place up, ripping raw materials, taking out. As a country, we should take up like 10,000 acres. Where we're sitting pretty is a place like Cheminel. We should take 10,000 acres, run the SGR there, run the SGR to the port of Kisumu. We have 200 million people to feed and to give products to. We're in business.
Yeah.
We get a growth. Kenya can go at a growth of 20% in the Lake Basin region.
Yeah.
Exporting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have an airport?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have international airport.
Yeah.
You can fly. From Kisumu, it's a shorter distance than flying from Nairobi.
Yeah.
And the altitude is right. You can leave with a full load of cargo.
Okay.
Because the way it's at sea level.
Yes.
At the lower level. Not like Nairobi. Nairobi is high.
It's high, yeah.
So you can only fly 75%. Cost is good.
Yes.
You can also fly full loads. These are things that we know. Yes. We should be flying into our fish. We should be flying onto the shelves in Amsterdam. From lake to overnight within 8 hours. 12 hours. You can move from the lake within 8 hours.
Do you think that's an area that has improved? They've gotten it right, fish?
Do you know how much Amsterdam? 12 to 10 euros a kilo.
Yeah.
We can be flying fish. This thing of consuming fish locally, importing fish is a big joke to us.
Yes.
The problem we have right now is fish feed. What is in the fish feed that is required? Cotton seed cake, sunflower seed cake, lake shrimps. That's the ingredients for
fish feed.
Soya is coming from Uganda. Cotton seed cake is coming from Tanzania. Lake shrimps are coming from Lake Victoria. To Unga mills in Nakuru, and brought back, becomes too expensive. Our cost of feeds in Kenya are 40% more, both for animal feeds, fish feed, chicken feeds, than in Uganda and Tanzania. Because of just people not putting their mind to it. We don't even, as a government, is not even thinking at that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, hey Sammy, you've educated us and you've given us a lot to think about. I grew up. My home county is Kilifi, yeah, and it pains me to date to watch, because we grew up as Kilifi cashew nuts being the
Yes.
backbone of the Kilifi economy, and it's now lying there derelict. And the cashew nut farmers are at the mercy of middlemen and the rest. Yet it's something that can be revived.
I was in Kilifi the other day.
Yes.
What will do well in Kilifi, I can tell you. Palm oil,
Yes.
coconuts,
Yes.
dates, rice, the areas where you're supposed to be doing rice in Kilifi.
Yes.
Even sugar, I told you at the port.
Yes.
The irrigation, Tana River.
Could do
for sugarcane, because it's in the right area.
Yeah.
Even agroforestry.
Yeah.
Because you're near the port, you can export.
Yeah.
And there's acres and acres of land I went the other day, sitting idle.
True.
Nothing happening. People speculating with land.
Pay a heavy price for the failure of leadership.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
I was shown a governor's home, one of the governor's home, there in Kilifi.
There by the creek.
Yeah. Water.
Yeah.
Not his home where he's built. Indigenous.
Yeah. Where he's from. Yeah.
Where he's from. There was the colonialists that put the borehole. It needed just 55,000 shillings to revive it. The whole time he was there, it was not revived.
I tell you.
Water to give your people drinking
Basic.
water. Basic.
Yeah.
I saw the schools there. I was really depressed when I saw the kind of schools that have been put there. I said, here is again a big problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sammy, our hour is up.
Yes.
But what a fabulous conversation.
Thank you.
Kudos to you, one, for taking the plunge, for going down this path least traveled.
Yes.
But also for showing us that there's another way out of this quagmire, and the solutions are here.
It's
and
passion.
They are local. It's passion. So all the best.
Thank you.
I'll be buying some seedlings. I know I need to place an order for some seedlings from you.
Come and get you. You will not regret.
Yes, definitely. Kwanzaa that sandalwood. I am running a cabinet.
Even African blackwood.
Yes.
Baobab.
Yes.
The one they use for making moratina. It's called the sausage tree. The sausage tree.
Higgelia africana. Yeah.
Yes. The sausage tree.
Yes.
Prunus africana.
Yes.
The acacia tree it's medicinal. Neem tea, mwarobaine, moringa.
Yes.
These are things, guava powder, guava trees, Indian guava, Thailand guava, local guava. We eat these things when you're young.
Excellent.
Berries, mulberries, gooseberries.
Wow. What a conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, that was episode 21 of the African Do podcast. We thank Sammy Weya, our guest, Swilla Limited, innovating around agroforestry and agriculture in general, trying to show us a different way of how we can run this country. And most importantly, I think at the very basic, anyone in your home, in your country, you should be able to feed yourself. That is the very basic I think we should expect. So I hope we have inspired some agriculturalists, of some young people, to come into agriculture, to take the bull by the horns, and to help us build a better Kenya. Thank you very much for joining us in this episode. Asanteni sana.